Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Ramadan, the legal matters show with me, Ajaz Ali. You're listening to us on either on Ash, what's the FM, sorry?
87.8 FM.
87.8 FM, or we're also live on Facebook and YouTube. Today we will be covering, I managed to persuade Ash to stay around after his show because I wanted to discuss landlord and tenant. So today we'll be covering landlord and tenant with me, Ash, and then we should also have Gavin Ward, a solicitor from my firm, joining us shortly on a call. If anyone has any legal questions, be it landlord or tenant or otherwise, feel free to call the studio. 1 second on 01902 972 150, or you can WhatsApp us on 07440 420 432. I've got the WhatsApps open, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to WhatsApp and I'll address it almost immediately. Thank you. Right, I think we have the caller on now. Hello. Hello. Caller. PC.
Hey, Jazz, it's Gavin.
Oh, Gavin, we can hear you now. Sorry, it took a while. We were trying to work out, between me and Ash, we were trying to work out which lever to adjust. Right, we got there. We got there in the end. How are you doing, Gavin? You okay?
I'm not bad. How's everybody today?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Ash is, I think, ready to pray. He's standing there and trying to work out which way east is.
Oh dear. Right. So So what are we talking about today, guys?
Ash, I think you'll have to sit down, mate, because people are seeing your
my dead.
Your tid.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. No, I was trying to stand up because I've got a bit of a twinge in my back. I've got a trapped nerve.
You need to do some stretches.
I've been trying, honestly. I've been trying, and with Ramadan, it's been even tougher.
Yeah, but we're nearly halfway there, so inshallah,
Indeed.
we'll get through it. We'll get through it. So today, as I said, landlord and tenant law. We thought we'll focus on Ash, not just law, but also a bit of guidance for landlords, maybe, or wannabe incoming landlords. I think you deal with plenty who want to, join the. There's no association per se, but there should be one.
Yeah.
Of landlords to get their money secured in assets which are not likely to go down as much as many other things do.
Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of things that people can invest in. You've got Bitcoin, you've got stocks and shares, but one thing that has lasted the test of time is bricks and mortar.
Bricks and mortar. My father always used to say to me, he says, the thing with land is that they don't make more of it, unless you're in Dubai nowadays, mind you.
Yeah. No, so we're living on I think one thing that we forget is that we're living on an island.
Yeah.
And so we can't actually build any more land.
Yeah.
But what we can do is utilise the land to build property.
Absolutely. So therefore, if there's more demand and less supply,
yes,
the prices are bound to go up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, on that note, Ash, if someone wants to get into property and they want to buy their first buy-to-let, say, what would you say the first thing that they should think of?
I think personally they've got to have a look at how much money have they got in terms of deposit, and because that also determines where they can actually purchase. Let's just take our local city of Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
Wolverhampton is split into multiple sectors, and if you've got, for argument's sake, £100,000 in savings, that can buy you multiple properties in Wolverhampton. Whereas if you've only got £20,000 or £30,000, that will determine where you can buy them in Wolverhampton and what that property can be done. And then as well as owning the property, you've then got multiple strategies as to what you do with that property. Do you rent it out just to a family? Do you then go for some more of the aggressive strategies where you can then rent it out on a room by room basis and generate a further or a larger income? And there are lots of things that you can do with property, but it all starts with the funds that you have to invest.
Yeah. So say if someone's then bought a property and want to rent it out, do they have to inform their lender?
All depends on the mortgage product that they've got, because if they've bought it with a residential mortgage, then yes, they would need to get consent to let, which means that the lender would need to give them permission to be able to let that property out. If you've got it on a buy-to-let, it generally is the consensus that the lender already is aware that you're going to let the property out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you've got the right type of mortgage in place. Otherwise, you'll have to go ask for a consent.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Some might say, okay, I've got a property, but is it going to cost me anything to rent it out?
Depends, because if you're utilising a letting agent, and there are lots of letting agents out there, some landlords want to do it themselves and save some cost. Other landlords are happy to give it to a letting agent and let them take all the headache. As a result, they may charge anywhere between 10 and 15% of the rental income that they generate per month. But that's obviously a cost, but that cost comes at a point of freedom.
Okay.
So you could be on holiday and you don't need to worry about anything.
Because the agents take it after.
Exactly. Whereas if you're managing it yourself, you could get a call whilst you're in Dubai, like
Ajaz. Yeah.
Ajaz,
Boiler breakdown.
Boiler breaks down, leaky tap, broken toilet, whatever it may be, and they'll be calling you. So again, you've got to value your time. You've got to value you've got to understand what is it that you want from this property.
Okay. Also, how about tax? Does a landlord need to pay tax on rental income?
Yes, unfortunately, we've been taxed. Property investors and landlords have been taxed quite heavily. I'm not going to go into the whole rigmarole and the whole realm.
Yeah, well, I don't think we can advise them on tax per se.
No, but the reason why property investors have been taxed quite heavily and are pushing lots of property investors into higher tax brackets because they can no longer. Before, you'd be able to claim the mortgage,
the interest,
but now, unfortunately, they can't, and the whole amount that you generate in income. So for argument's sake, let's just imagine, give you an example. If your mortgage previously was £300 a month and you're renting it out for £500 a month, previously you would have only been taxed on the £200 a month that you're actually making. Now, what the government have done is that they've brought it in where they're actually taxing you on the whole £500 a month, which means that it's showing that you're getting an income of £500 a month, which is £6,000 a year. Now, if you've got multiple of those properties, it doesn't take many of those to then push you into the higher tax bracket.
No, that's true.
So, in that respect, there's been lots of upheaval by investors all over the country who are now in high tax bracket. And let's face it, it's better for the government because they're now generating a lot more tax
from the same people.
But ultimately, it's turned a lot of properties into loss-making properties as well.
That's why you see a lot of landlords leaving the market as well, isn't it?
So there's lots of new regulation in the market. So you've got, if you're running it as a HMO, a multiple occupancy, there's lots of red tape around that, whether you need to get a license. There's also other licensing that you may need to get in Wolverhampton. There's certain parts Wolverhampton where you need to get selective license. As well as that, you're now being taxed on the whole income.
I think
as well as
Wolverhampton
that,
Article 4, isn't it?
Wolverhampton's Article 4. Then you've got to get your electrical certs in place. That's mandatory. You've got to have your gas safety certificate. That's mandatory. In single let, you've now got to have carbon monoxide detectors. That's mandatory.
Yeah.
And these are all things. And then all it takes
more
is
expense every.
It's more expensive. And then if you get one tenant that kind of doesn't pay you, that's just almost like another kick in the.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, so you need to be. See, one thing that people sometimes get wrong, in my opinion, is they think, okay, this much I'm getting in rent, this much is what I'm paying in my mortgage, therefore this leaves this much for me to spend. I wouldn't work it that way. I'd say this much you leave for, you know, anything that could happen.
Voids, bad debt,
There you go.
contingencies,
Contingency, exactly.
legal fees, professional fees,
Yeah, boiler breakdowns.
boiler breakdowns. But then saying that, you know what? If you're really worried about boiler breakdowns, because that is a large cost, you can actually get insurance policies in place. So
Yes.
there are, like,
Yeah, of
like
course.
say in British Gas, other providers are available.
Yeah.
But they provide insurance policies for the sake of like £20 or £30 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and then they cover it from parts and labour. So should anything happen, your tenant can actually just call British Gas and come out and replace parts. I had a landlord friend of mine who, believe it or not, has got the insurance policy in place, and a week before it was due to be renewed, the heat exchanger
Ah,
decided to break.
okay.
And so that was really lucky, because that heat exchanger is the equivalent cost of a brand new boiler.
Wow. Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that was really lucky from that point.
Right. Gavin, are you still here?
Very much still here. There was a quick question for Haj, actually. See, the tax relief, is it a 100% gone then? So it's not say reduced. It's completely. There's just no tax relief on your mortgage interest there.
Haj, can you answer?
I'm trying to look for Haj here. There's no Haj in the studio.
Oh, sorry.
it's
Ash.
Anybody
Ash.
mixed up.
I thought you knew Ash.
sorry.
You've met before.
Yes, we have. It's been
Yeah,
a year.
we have met once. Yeah,
It's been a
been
year.
a few years though, hasn't it? I think it was 2020 actually.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, so now unfortunately they tax you on the full amount that you're charging, not just the amount that you're collecting in cash flow.
And I suppose the worst bit of that is that if you're not making any money from it, really, because your mortgage payments are shot up because you've gone variable, or you've had a boiler break or something like that, and you haven't got landlord insurance or whatever the insurance is you need for the boiler, then you could end up being in a position where your company's not making money or you're personally not making money from
There are
it.
lots of
And you're being
scenarios.
taxed on the whole thing.
Yeah, there are lots of scenarios where landlords are now actually in negative cash flow.
Yeah. Because we're reading a lot in the press nowadays that landlords are seeking to exit the housing market quite sharpish.
Yeah, there are lots of landlords, and again, you've got to remember, with the interest rate increases, with the utility increases, with all the other red tape, yes, it's still a viable sector. And sometimes you've got to think, what are you playing the short-term game or are you playing the long-term game? For those that are playing the long-term game,
And also strategies, isn't it?
Yeah, of
What's the
course.
right strategy for you?
exactly. So
Have you had to adapt your strategy since the changes in the interest rates on mortgages, or are you sort of fairly locked in with what you...
Do you,
What you say
I'll
leverage
give
or-
you a bit of background on Ash, so that you know. Ash has been in property for many, many years. I believe his whole family has been into property. His late father, God bless his soul, was also into property. So he's very experienced in this game. And I'm sure many of his properties will be free of debt.
Yeah.
If not, 90%. But I know he likes to play with finance.
yeah, no,
So-
so we've got, I mean, to be fair, with property, what I try to do is I try and keep it quite, even. So I'm not one of these people that try and gear as much as they can out of the property in terms of finance. I'll make sure that there's always some equity in there for a rainy day. So I've been quite lucky in that respect, because it's kept our debt level down, it's kept our interest payments down. In terms of interest rates, luckily we were able to lock ours in a few years back for quite a long term. So we've kind of been slightly, well, you could call it luck if you want, but we've been lucky in respect of that locking in interest rates. Whereas if we were to have the interest rates and pay the interest rates as to what the rises are, we would have. Well, I'm not saying it.
So you're lucky to be ahead of the curve then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, right time, right place. Sometimes that is a phrase I get heard. Well, I hear quite often.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even when purchasing property, people say, "Well, I was lucky there. 'Cause it was right time, right place."
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens. That happens. It happened with me myself. To be fair, many years, many times I should say.
So Ajaz is quite lucrative, because he not only is he the legal, he's the solicitor. He's also an investor himself.
To some extent, yes. Um, not quite gone the way that you have, but yeah, it's still I do have an interest in the property market, and I do like to dabble a bit.
Good.
Um, so the next question I have for you from a new landlord is who's responsible for the council tax? Who's got to pay, the landlord or the tenant?
It all depends. If it's a single let property, then it would be. Well, I don't know actually. This is a difficult question because it all comes down to what you put in the agreement.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If it's a single let and you're not doing it as all bills inclusive, then it would be the tenant responsible. If it's a multi-let where the bills are all inclusive, then you as a landlord would be responsible.
Yeah. And as you say, even on a single let, if you have it clearly in the contract that it's the landlord's responsibility, maybe you're charging them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Then it'd be yours. Otherwise, normal standard
But again,
contracts.
you've got to factor in a year-on-year council tax rises.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've got that in, you've got to probably factor that into your costing as well.
Mm.
But then,
Would it be the same
for some of the landlords? It's also, you should actually also be doing annual reviews on your rents to check.
See, that I've noticed in the Asian community more so, where I've come across landlords when I'm dealing with their evictions, etc. I've come across landlords who not increase their rents for like 10 years.
Could be because they've got the mindset that, oh no, rende.
Yeah, they're paying the rent. They're still there.
They're happy rende.
Yeah.
Rende. But the reality is that the fact is that all the other costs have gone up.
Everything's gone up. If inflation's through the roof, so
if they've got no lending on it, then perhaps.
Yeah.
If they've got no lending on it, then perhaps.
Or the lending was quite minimal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all very circumstantial.
Yeah, but I'm sure if that tenant then decides to leave, who I'm assuming they probably won't want to leave if they get in 200-300 quid cheaper than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a 3-bedroom house in Wolverhampton, Ash, what would you say?
You're not going to get much change out of starting from 700 a month.
Yeah.
Going right up to depending on location, 1,000, maybe to 1,500 pounds.
Well, over in Stourbridge, we're charging about £1,000 on a 3-bedroom. So.
It's good times. But equally, obviously, the rent that you charge, you're getting taxed obviously on that £1,000 as well now.
Of course.
So that may be a factor as well. If we're only charging 500, then we'll only get taxed on 500.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about TV license?
Not included. Well, again, comes down to agreements, but if it's part of your bills, if it's a multi-let, then yes, it will be included. If it's a single let where it's just a family, generally that single family would be paying the council tax, the TV license, the electricity, the gas, the broadband, and anything else that they bring in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You mentioned managing agents earlier. Why would you use a managing agent first of all?
If I had one or two, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then say if I had one or two, then you wouldn't really get many problems, hopefully.
I suppose distance matters as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So, for instance,
it comes down to location, where you're investing. So if you're based in Wolverhampton and you've bought in Stoke-on-Trent, you bought in Newcastle, you bought in, you've gone up north because you thought they're cheaper, you've bought in County Durham, you've bought in Stockton-on-Tees, where the properties are £40,000 or £50,000, then yes, you're not going to want to keep going back up to Stockton-on-Tees to deal with the toilet. So at the moment, as it stands, I've just bought 2 hotels in Blackpool.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm waiting for them to be refurbished, so we can go to Blackpool Tower.
So what you want to do, Baji on the beach?
That's it.
Baji on the beach. Blackpool's, I've just bought a 17-bed hotel and a 15-bed hotel, and currently I've got my builders, I've got my builder and my decorator going up there weekly. They leave on Monday morning. They come back Friday late evening, and they're just getting the property ready. For me, I'm managing that
Yourself. Okay.
So that's 2 hours away. So it's about 98 miles, I think it
Mm-hmm.
is. But we're managing that remotely. But I can because I've got the systems in place to do that. I've had the years of experience to allow me to create those systems. Personally, even though I still like to have someone on the ground, whether it be like a caretaker style person.
So someone you can rely on to do.
Yeah, so that if there's an issue, so I create a team of self-employed like builders, plumbers and stuff, so that if there's an issue, I'm not sending my guys from Wolverhampton to fix it. I've got someone there that will do it.
Yeah. But someone new in the game they would be better off having a man.
If it's just one or two,
yeah.
yes.
So if they've had a property up there,
Yeah.
again because they think the yield is better
Yeah.
than down here. Is the yield better, by the way?
Up north, yes,
Yeah.
because obviously they're cheaper and the rent isn't too dissimilar. So in Blackpool, a one-bedroom flat will be getting circa around 4 to 450. In Wolverhampton, the rent will be for a one-bedroom flat between 450 and 500.
500, yeah.
But then, if you look at the value of the property, a one-bedroom flat in Wolverhampton nowadays, circa starting 100,000.
Yeah. You'll be lucky to get anything below.
In Blackpool, you might get 2 for that. 2 for the price of 1. So again, but Wolverhampton, you'll probably benefit a little bit more from capital growth.
Yeah.
In Blackpool, not necessarily, and it is a seasonal market.
Well, that is something I actually, when someone asks me any questions on property,
Pros and cons.
My question to them normally is, well, what is it that you're after? Are you after a big yield, or are you after the capital growth? If you're after capital growth, then yeah, you can do locally. If you're after a better yield, start going north.
Yeah, it's true. But then saying that, it all depends. Like Blackpool, again, you can make great cash flow because it's a seaside place. And so we're now going into, this weekend.
Well,
it's Easter weekend this weekend.
Will are you converting the hotel, or
it's fully booked from Friday?
Oh, really?
Fully booked. We've got the rooms functional.
Okay.
We've got the rooms functional. They're not Avon.
Okay.
They're not Taj Mahal standard
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
But we bought this property with bookings already in place.
Right.
So we're going to honour those bookings for the season because in a season you can make a couple £100,000. So it'd be crazy to shut it.
Yeah.
You might as well do it.
Yeah, make
the full. Make the money in the season and then shut it and do the refurb
in the winter,
in the off season. Yeah.
Whilst you're taking on more bookings. Yeah, brilliant idea. Yeah, I wonder where you got that from.
Not you.
Not me. No, it wasn't me.
I got it from Gavin.
Gavin, yeah, brilliant idea, mate. Brilliant idea.
Hodge got it from Gavin.
Shall I go buy a hotel?
Go buy a hotel, Gavin.
I'm actually going to look for 2 more tomorrow.
Where am I buying my hotel then? I don't really like Blackpool. I can imagine I'd be in a lot of trouble.
I thought it was your type of place, mate. That's where all the old...
No, believe it or not, you know what, to be fair, I've got to say that. Like, last weekend was our first weekend in actual trading.
Okay.
And we only actually released, I think, 3 or 4 apartments last.
Can you hold that thought? We've only got a few seconds left before we go into break. So, guys, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're talking about Arsh's properties.
It's property gupshop.
Gupshop, yeah. So we'll be back after the break, and we'll go into the legalities a bit more then. So see you guys after the break, inshallah.
When you need to send money abroad, AK Money can transfer funds quickly and securely to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, to anywhere in the world. Whether you're sending to family, for business, or for charity during this holy month of Ramadan, download the AK Money app and transfer from the palm of your hand, whilst enjoying competitive rates, 0 fees, and an outstanding service. To chat with our support team in English, Urdu, or Punjabi, call 02031 502253 or click on akmoney.co.uk.
think I did.
Visit the new AK Windows head office showroom. It's where you can view their quality and affordable double-glazed windows, doors, roof lanterns and composite and bifolding doors in all colours, finishes and styles. Also for door lock and glass repairs too. For both trade and DIY, AK Windows have over 30 years experience in manufacturing and installing. So to arrange your free quotation, call 01902 421 500, click on akwindows.co.uk or visit at Economic House, Salisbury Street, Wolverhampton, WV3 0BG.
The death of a loved one is a very emotional and challenging time for the family members of the deceased. Al Mu'min Funeral Services have been supporting families across the UK since 2005. Their professional, experienced and quality service ensures the whole process from release from hospital to burial is taken care of respectfully and efficiently. They also specialise in worldwide repatriations, assisting to take loved ones to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Iraq or anywhere worldwide. almu'minfunerals.co.uk, your trusted funeral service.
Eurofit Auto Centres, the West Midlands' leading independent auto centre, celebrating 18 years of service. All services, MOT and repairs, with a free collection and drop-off service within Wolverhampton. Book online today at eurofitautocentres.co.uk or call us on 01902 40 40 45 and we'll direct you to your nearest branch. The experts making vehicle repairs simple. Is your home protected from the unexpected? It can be with Home Cover Plan, Wolverhampton's fastest growing home emergency cover from as little as $14.50 a month. That's right, for just $14.50 a month, Home Cover Plan will protect your boiler, radiators, electrics, plumbing and any other home emergencies with no catches, no call-out charges and no excess charges plus a boiler service. What's more, for Ramadan 2020, we're offering 15% off our policies with the code Ramadan15. Go to homecoverplan.co.uk now and join the many thousands already enjoying the benefits.
Mubi Base Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment. Suppliers of leading brands, Samsung, Sony, and Panasonic. We supply and fit all car audio systems, top brands, Kenwood, Bose, and we're an authorized supplier of Vibe product. Visit our store online at mubibase.co.uk and order today for next day delivery. Mubi Base Electronics are proud sponsors of Wolverhampton Wanderers FC. Call us today for a free quote on 01902 754 546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mubi Base Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone to assist you in legal advice? Kenneth Jones Solicitors has been providing legal services for businesses and individuals since 1986. We specialise in probate, Islamic wills and family law. We also offer services in conveyancing, immigration and personal injury. Contact us today on 01902 745 773 or visit us on our website at kenneth-jones.co.uk.
KGJ Insurance have specialised in commercial insurance for over 20 years. They provide insurance to commercial property owners, food and drink, manufacturing, motor fleets and trade, offices, warehousing and retail trades. With over 70 staff, excellent service and fast response times. Find out how KGJ Insurance can help protect your business. Call 01902 796 796 or visit kgjgroup.co.uk. Khan Builders offer a full range of building services, from major rebuilds to small projects, home improvements, kitchen fitting, plastering, bathroom fitting, extensions and much more. We pride ourselves on providing a professional, caring and high quality service and always meet our customers' needs. Contact Khan Builders today on 07813 950 265 for a free quotation from Khan Builders.
Yeah.
He needs doing up. He's got to pay 10% up front and he'll get a license. He's got to do it up in 6 months.
Yeah, so that's called I forgot what the term's called now. It's good policy because then you buy it, you complete the transaction after 6 months.
Yeah, and then you can mortgage it then.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. You don't even have to pay down 10%. You can put down 5% if you want.
Well, his deal is 10%.
How long have we left?
21 seconds to go.
It flies by, yeah.
It does.
Especially if you're talking Gandh for, yeah.
Well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Huh?
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. This is Ajaz Ali, and we're here on the Legal Matters show with Ajaz Ali.
Hajj.
Hajj.
It's Hajj now.
Yeah, it's Hajj. He's renaming himself Hajj, trying to be inclusive. And also Gavin Ward we have on the call, who's a solicitor with us. So we were talking about landlord and tenant law. We were talking about landlord and tenant generally, and we ended up talking about investments, where it's best to invest, etc. So Ash, before the break, I asked you to hold that thought. Do you remember what that thought was?
Oh no, what was the thought about? Okay, go on, remind me. Okay, yes, Blackpool.
Yes.
Let's talk about Blackpool. So basically, first weekend of you've got to have thick blood and you've got to have thick skin.
Okay.
For properties, especially if you go tough places like Blackpool, Sunderland, Newcastle. I could talk to you for hours about properties in Hartlepool and Middlesbrough.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Blackpool, first weekend that we opened the apartments out to public.
Oh, so you've converted the hotel into apartments?
No. Well, they are
they're like self-contained,
like serviced apartments. So,
right, okay.
But they are within a hotel. So anyway, guests come, first guests come, and then I said okay, and then she's booked. Bear in mind, she's booked a second floor sea view apartment,
mm-hmm.
and then she comes, and then first she walks through the door, and she goes, How do I get to my apartment? I said, you've got to go up the stairs. Well, I didn't, but the person that says, you've got to go up the stairs. She goes, oh, I can't climb the stairs. I said, well, how are you expecting to get up to the second floor if you're not going to climb up the stairs?
And how are you going to get the sea view?
Yeah. And she goes, and then she starts coming out with, oh, I'm disabled, I can't go up the stairs.
Right.
And then she goes, and then she starts saying, oh, I can smell paint. I said, yeah, because we've just recently modernised the hotel or the space. And she goes, I'm allergic to paint.
Oh, okay.
I said, so you're allergic to paint and you're disabled. Anything else that you put on this disclaimer before we go any further?
Well, what does that tell you? You need to, before taking bookings,
yeah,
I think you need to make quite a lengthy checklist.
On the bookings we did say that we're renovating it, and on there we did say that we've got no lifts.
Yeah.
So I just said to her, do it in there.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? I said, and she goes, well, I said, we haven't got a lift.
So you sent her for a bhaji on the beach?
Yeah, literally. I just said, you know what? If you want, we'll just give you a full refund. Because I can imagine.
Yeah,
that
what else?
We were going to get a full weekend of.
Once you got up there, you would have had the next list.
She would have gave us the next list. I thought that. And then so the second guest is a young couple, boyfriend, girlfriend. They came for a weekend away. And then I didn't hear a bean out of them all weekend. And then on the Sunday, when the cleaners went in, they says, Ash, we can't find the keys for this apartment. And so my guest reservation team, they messaged her and they said, well, do you mind if we ask, where have you put the keys? Because on the way out, you've got a checkout box where you can just throw the keys in, or you can put them back in the key box. She goes, oh, sorry. I go, what's that mean? She goes, you've got to go and collect them from the police station. I go, what do you mean you've got to collect them from the police station? She goes, me and my boyfriend, we had a fight, and the police came and they took him away. So he did actually stop there as well. So honestly, it's just.
I see what you mean about thick skin.
You've got to have thick skin. And she goes, can you go and collect the keys from the police station, please? I said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
And so one of the new doors that we
they wouldn't release them to you anyway.
No, so anyway, one of the new doors we put on in that apartment, there's got a fist going through the door. So, oh man.
Ventilation, that's all it is.
It's honestly, you've got to have thick skin. And you can't let things like that bother you. I know lots of people where it would have put them down, it would have made them question it. As far as I'm concerned, this is just teething issues.
Yeah. No, you're right. A lot of people, not everyone's cut out for the game, in my opinion.
I agree.
Not everyone can deal with this type of stuff. I know a lot of people who would want to. They see they see people who are doing well, and they say, "Oh, I can do this," but not everyone's cut out for it.
They don't understand everything that goes in it.
Not everyone can deal with people.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a big part of it. Dealing with people is a big part of the rental game, in my opinion.
And that's why sometimes having a letting agency is good. But even then, scenarios like the last weekend, if you gave it to a company that ran stuff like this, they would still have these issues.
Yeah, they will. They would.
Yeah.
And then you'd be questioning them.
Yeah, exactly. So,
what am I paying you for?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's face it, in Blackpool, you're not going to spend a lot for a weekend away. So for argument's sake, let's just say that they spent 200 quid for a couple of nights. But if you factor in that now, I've got to put a brand new door on.
Yeah.
And the labour to put that door on.
Yeah.
There's 200 quid.
200 gone?
Yeah, 200 quid gone.
Well, if it's a fire door, then it's more than that.
Exactly. So luckily, with platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, you do get to charge the guest back for the damage.
Yeah, but the inconvenience.
It is. It's part and parcel of it,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's true. But as I said, for those type of people, maybe, a single let is the best way forward.
Best way forward, but they all want to go on holiday, and then not only that, one thing that's become quite apparent for me for Blackpool as well is that we've inherited a lot of guests' bookings from the previous owner.
Yeah.
And so we're still, for argument's sake, guests come this weekend, we're still collecting their part payments.
Okay.
So for argument's sake, they would have booked this a year ago or 6 months ago, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's just kind of hit home that everyone's got their own kind of budgets to work to, and so let's just imagine now that their holiday payment was £200-300. And every week we get a call from a guest saying, "Oh, I need to pay £20 off towards my holiday." So again, I'm not used to this.
No.
So it's a bit crazy. But yeah, we're working with what we got, but it's a completely different market. So
yeah. Does it take you back to when they used to knock on your door and say, "Can you top up my gas, please?"
Top up my gas.
£5.
Exactly. So
can you loan me £5?
Exactly. So it's a bit crazy, but
I remember them days.
We're working with it. We're running with it, and we've got these guests now, and so hopefully by increasing the standard of the accommodation, we can now start to charge more, which means that we can then now start to reach out to slightly better clientele. And that's the reason why the previous owner wasn't doing as well as she should have.
You want to be the Uber of rental properties?
No, I don't want to be anything. I just want to enjoy a good lifestyle. I want to enjoy a good lifestyle, and just do the best that I can.
Well, I suppose that's what people get in the business for as well, especially when it's as a secondary income.
Absolutely.
It's just to improve the lifestyle.
Yeah, a property allows you to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And for people like yourself,
on the other scale of it, I just had a notification from Airbnb. Someone's booked one of my apartments in Nottingham. They paid 600 quid for a night.
Brilliant. I was about to ask you how Nottingham's going on.
Nottingham's flying.
Yeah.
Nottingham is absolutely flying.
Yeah, they're brand new apartments, aren't they?
Yeah, brand new apartments, and they're right in the city centre, and they're on Airbnb, and they're absolutely flying.
Yeah, good to hear. Good to see people doing well. So, we're moving back to the actual topic that we were supposed to be talking about. We're talking about Arshmania.
But with serviced accommodation, there is no tenant or...
Yeah.
If we refer it back to law, there's no law associated with that because they're not tenants, they're guests.
They're guests, yeah.
They're guests, so they're governed by slightly different... So
the regulations are different there.
They can't overstay because then they'll become squatters.
Yeah, and again, the other thing is because you're taking on, are they giving a hefty deposit?
So they're all done through like the booking platforms, like Booking.com, etc. So you can then, if there is damage, you can charge them through the platforms.
Right. Yeah. So which is different to a normal let, whereby you take a deposit, which is a deposit. You have to place that in a
tenancy deposit
scheme. And we can tell us what that is. And
so when you let a property, and you take a deposit, by law you have to protect that deposit. So it has to go into a scheme, or a government-backed scheme, or a insurance-backed scheme. So the one that I tend to use is, which is probably one of the most commonly known as the tenancy deposit scheme, TDS.
Yeah.
There is another one called My Deposits, and the difference being is that when you collect that deposit, you then transfer that deposit into the tenancy deposit scheme. With My Deposits, which is one of the other schemes, you can actually keep that money in your own account, but you pay a fee for that transaction, whereas TDS, you don't pay any fees.
I think most people use the TDS one.
Yeah.
I think we use the TDS one as well. But I have come across landlords, even now, how long has tenancy deposit been around?
It's been a few years.
Fair few years, isn't it?
2007, 2008, isn't it?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I still come across landlords who
Who've not protected
the deposits.
Yeah.
And when they turn up and say, I need to evict, I say, right, where's the deposit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it. Okay. Where? Is it in a scheme? No, we didn't know. I didn't know how to put it in the scheme.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to get it back under just a non-fault eviction, suddenly they're unable to.
In fact, Gavin, you've dealt with one or two like that recently, haven't you?
Yeah. So we had an interesting situation with the one where there was the landlord hadn't taken a deposit from the tenant at all, but the managing agent had referenced a deposit
in the contract, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
I don't know how
you get the agent to come along and explain that it was an administrative error
at the court. Yeah,
at the court hearing, and the judge was accepting of it. There was good reason for it.
To be fair, on that one, I said to you that we're never going to win this one, but you did.
Well, yeah, well, that's always the fun, isn't it? But I did say that to the client before I went in as well. I said I wasn't necessarily sure that we would win, so I prepared them for the prospect of not winning, but that just made them winning feel a little bit better. But unfortunately, in situations like that, even when you have got all your preconditions ticked and you get your possession order in place, then you get the tenant still refusing to leave, and you end up having to get the bailiffs involved. And I suppose that comes back to part of what you were talking about with unfortunate extra costs that landlords have to put up with, is when you do get a bad tenant, say if they've not been paying the rent, or for one reason you need to take back possession quite sharpish, and you want to do an accelerated non-fault eviction on the tenant, then you can be faced with some pretty hefty bills one way or another. Not to mention a lot of your own time involved in potentially having to go to court to deal with it to get the possession order you require.
Okay. So, are there any changes in the rules in relation to Section 21 or Section 8?
There's no change in Section 21 yet, but it has been proposed that they would be looking to amend non-fault evictions. And I think that's scaring a lot of landlords off from the market as well, because they obviously like to have a measure of flexibility in there. But I would have thought, I don't know, but I would have thought they'd have allowed the landlord some discretion to be able to serve a Section 21 notice on a non-fault basis, so that they can say if they have to sell the property so they can get repossessed or something along those lines, or various sort of reasons which necessitate the landlord taking back possession of the property, including, I suppose, for those accidental landlords which have inherited the property where maybe they need to move into it for themselves. Maybe they've been divorced, they've got to move out to a matrimonial home, and that's the only one that would be available to them. And it makes sense for them to move into there, and unfortunately it moves the tenants out, but it does give them somewhere to be in the meantime, as it were.
Okay. Asha, I've got a quick question for you. Maybe you can shed some light on it. If a tenant doesn't pay, would there be any way of getting that money? I've come across insurances, etc.
You can get insurance policies in place, but the reality is that insurance companies will try and get themselves out of it.
Yeah, they look for the loopholes out.
They'll look at lots of loopholes. Again, going back to the point, Have you protected deposits? Have you provided gas safety certificate? Have you got the carbon monoxide in place? Have you got the smoke detectors in place? Have you got this in place? And if you've missed one of those minor little bits, chances are that the insurance company will say, sorry, we can't cover you.
The policy's void.
The policy's void. So there are scenarios, but there are other scenarios where they have paid out. So it does work.
It works, but you need to make sure all your ducks are in a line.
Exactly.
100%.
You can actually employ bailiffs and stuff like that, but that becomes quite expensive.
Yeah.
You can actually go to, you can actually also do MCOL, money claim online, and then you can try and take the tenant to court for it.
Yeah, because obviously, Gavin, someone like yourself, if it's a claim for like £500 to £1,000 or a couple of £1,000, it's not really worth.
It's not worth getting me engaged in something that's quite small. I know a landlord at the moment that's got about nearly £6,000 worth of rent arrears that they want to recover. And they've said to me, would I help with that? And I've said, well, financially, it's probably not worth you getting me engaged.
Before you carry on, Ash is on his way out now. He's got somewhere to be. So, Ash, thank you for joining us. And we'll speak soon.
Okay, thank you. Good speaking to you.
Take care. Allah Hafiz. Right. Yeah. Gavin, sorry.
No, it's okay. So there's a landlord that's been in touch with me, and I think he's got a rent arrears. He wants to recover about 6k. And what I sort of suggest to landlords in that position is that they retain conduct of the litigation themselves. They'll issue the case themselves, but I would prepare certain documents for them to utilise, and then they would deal with the day-to-day of the case. So they would just be paying specific amounts for specific things, and it would keep the fees down if they did want input on things. And then they can sort of dip in and out as they like, as it were. They haven't got to necessarily engage me on things that they feel like they can handle themselves. And I think they're making small claims mediation compulsory now as well. It's not going to be an optional tick box exercise. I think you've got to try to opt out now rather than opt in. Albeit there's been a suggestion from the provisional research that suggests that even on an opt-out scheme, more people are still opting out than they would opt in. So it hasn't had a great amount of impact on it, albeit it's a good way of trying to settle a small claim. If you're willing to make a small compromise, or both sides are willing to make a small compromise, you might just get away with not having to go to court, and it might just help you get it over the line a little bit. And if you've got your pleadings drafted well, then the other side knows what they're potentially in for, and they should have that in mind when they're at the mediation, really. And the mediation's a nice, simple exercise. It's just one that it's like what we're doing now, where I'm on the phone. So you could be the mediator potentially, and we're having a discussion about the case, and then the mediator would go off and talk to the other side. And it's not sort of a free-for-all of sorts. It's a matter of the mediator going between the sides and trying to edge them towards the settlement if it's achievable. If it's achievable, it gets put into a court order and it's enforceable. But if it doesn't work out, then matters will then proceed down the track to a court hearing. But usually, in my experience, people who want to take part in mediation generally want to avoid having to go to court with it. And that is generally a better way of dealing with things if they can come to an amicable resolution without the need for a trial. That's usually better for everyone.
Yeah, obviously mediation is recommended by courts as well, isn't it, for regardless of the type of matter. We've got another guest who's going to be taking over the show in 5 minutes' time. Tariq Ali on with us now as well. Tariq, you're on mic 2, is it?
1, 2.
Assalamu alaikum, Tariq. How are you?
Assalamu, how are you, brother? You okay?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, good.
Actually, I've got used to you having your show before me.
Yeah.
Actually, it just breaks me and ready for my show.
Well, thank you for jumping on. Tariq, are you a landlord yourself? I've been told you are.
Barely pay. I've got more in the house, mate. I'm not a landlord.
No?
No, mate.
Oh, okay, you're not quite.
I'm not very business-minded, to be fair.
And you're too busy with your charity stuff?
Well, too busy with a lot of stuff. Cricket, charity, volunteering, yes.
Yeah, I do know that you do a lot of volunteering. Yeah, Tariq Ali, MBE. So, have you ever come across it in your time in volunteering and helping people? Have you ever come across any rogue landlords?
To be honest with you, I did a bit of work with the local council a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and their target was to get a lot of rogue landlords off the scene. I won't go into too much detail, but there is a few there, and so there's always somebody trying to make a quick buck, but it never lasts.
Well, there's
does it?
all sorts in, regardless of the type of field you go into. There's always a someone who's there to make a quick buck, and someone who's there for the long term. Whether it's landlords or even with the tenants, you get some tenants. I mean, one of our tenants currently previously was on a TV show as the tenant from hell. He's been our tenant for the last 10 years, no problem.
Yeah.
But my brother's a big lad.
Well, if you keep him in check, mate, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
He's fine.
he's fine.
But yeah, but I guess it is an issue because you got to think of generally when people can afford it. People who want benefits can get the support for the housing benefits, I guess. But if you can't, or you're not that way inclined, or you just can't afford it, then you're always going to look for an easy option, and that's when I get the rogue trade. Landlords will get involved, so we don't help ourselves. But it's a tough world out there, mate, at times.
We say rogue. Rogue, maybe not the right word as well. Sometimes landlords, they've bought a property years ago. I mentioned when Arsh was on earlier, they've got a tenant in there for the last 10 years. They're not done anything to the property, but they're not increased the rent either. They're thinking, well, he's happy, right?
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, tenant decides, you know what, I'm going to complain to the council now. And then they go to the council. Council comes round, has a look, and say, right, this property needs 20 grand spent on it. And the landlord's thinking, I ain't got 20 grand to spend on it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, you've got to try and stay on top of these things, haven't you? Once you let them go, then it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
It is. So
there's a lot of restrictions, though, isn't there, at the moment? On landlords and who can rent and...
Yes. Well, not so much who can rent, obviously.
I mean, the landlord...
There's a
property that he can rent
out.
out.
The quality of the property. There's more and more restrictions coming into place whereby you have to have it to a certain standard. I mean, forget anything else. Let's talk about EPCs. There's a minimum threshold where you need to meet before the landlord can actually rent the property out. That didn't used to be a case. So now he has to be, I think, is it E, Gavin?
I think it is E, but I think it's going up.
It's going up to C, isn't it?
C, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's going up to C, not to distant future.
So it's got
that's going to make
basically insulation and everything.
Hell involved in Victorian terraced houses.
But I was going to say that's only going to help improve the standard of people of
of living.
Yeah. Generally, I mean, it can't be any worse for them. Obviously, it's a bit more of a cost for landlords.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing if you've got a few properties in the market, you're quite well off anyway.
Well, to be fair, you're only investing in your own asset, isn't it, really? If you think of it in one way, if you're going to improve the quality of that property, it means it'll last longer for you and maybe your children. So you're only helping yourself in essence.
Definitely.
But not many people think like that.
Well, there's a short-term game and there's the long-term game, isn't it? I mean, the short-term game's easy and it's a gain for everybody, isn't it? But when you start thinking long-term, it takes some serious thought and planning, doesn't it?
It does. Definitely. Well, you say you're not a landlord, but you know your stuff.
Well, it's a fact of life.
It's
isn't it,
common
really?
sense,
It's
isn't it?
sense,
Common
I
sense.
mean,
But the problem with common sense, as they always say, not very common. So anyhow, Tariq, I'm going to end it there. Thank you for your input. It's been great, to be fair.
Thank you for warming me up.
Gavin, thank you. And always. Gavin, thank you. And we'll try and get you on another show to do some maybe on litigation. Or these boundary disputes and stuff. So let's see next week or the week after. Guys, thank you for listening. And those on Facebook, etc., thank you for watching. I will be back next week. Until then, inshallah, you have a good day, and hopefully we will have a good iftar. Allah Hafiz.